Hey, it's Jen Lewis. You're listening to Smart Keto Academy podcast episode number 5. It's a good one, so stay tuned. Welcome to Smart Keto Academy podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lewis, where I teach you the only smart and strategic lifestyle for women over 40. Real coaching, real strategies, real success. This is Smart Keto Academy. Hello there, friends. I'm so excited to be here talking to you, with you today. I had sent out this email earlier in the week and I had such a positive response. I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this to the podcast. So here I am. And today we are going to be talking about what wholeness means to me and how I found it through my 82-pound release. I call it release. And it's interesting because today somebody asked me, what does that mean? What does weight release mean? And because so many times, so often we say, oh, well, I want to lose 40 pounds or I lost 20 pounds. And I want you to think about it for a minute. What does the word lose or lost imply? And to me, it implies that we're going to be looking for it, right? I lost my keys. I lost my favorite lipstick shade. Or I lost my child in the store. We're going to go looking for it. We want to find it again. And so by saying weight release or I release this weight, to me, it means just being willing to let go of something and with no intention of finding it again, right? I hope that by listening to this podcast show and by listening and reading my emails and being a part of our tribe, you have no intention of picking up the weight that you lose, right? Or that you release. And so what I'd like to do is share with you the email that inspired this podcast show. I've just been getting a lot of positive response from, and I am going to do my best to not cry. I was just crying those ugly cries when I was writing it because I am a writer and I usually write with more heart and intent because I'm alone and I'm centered in and I'm really just in tune and let my words flow. Where when I start speaking, I start to think about, oh, well, you need to make it sound professional and you need to make sure that you don't mumble or muffle your words and so on and so forth. So when I write, it is usually just this flow and just this connection with something deep inside of me that needs to be heard. And so for today's podcast, I am going to just simply read from the email. And in some parts of it, yes, I am going to expand as I feel called to do so. And I'm going to ask right now for your forgiveness. If I do start to get a little choked up, I'm going to do my best not to. But I serve from the heart and just, I love deeply and I feel very called to share this message with you. And through this email, you will see why. So, my friends, I'd ask you now just to settle in and whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe you are at home and you are folding clothes, or maybe you're on the road and you're listening to this podcast as you drive into work, or maybe you have, hopefully, set aside 30, 40 minutes to yourself and really plan to just dial in and learn something and have your own breakthroughs. That is my intention for you, is to really have and learn the truth about yourself and uncover what is asking to be seen from within you. And we are so busy as a society trying to ignore how we feel, trying to just get by. Oftentimes, I just feel like we're just trying to get through the day, right? We're just so busy. We're being torn in many different directions, and we don't have a lot of time to think, and let alone tune in and hear and see what it is that's asking to be seen, what it is that's asking to be heard, what it is that is calling you from within, right? Guiding you. And so my intention is to really just help you slow down, tune in to that inner wisdom that you have that is asking you to pay attention. So, a couple of months ago, I made one of the most important and scariest decisions in my career. And without expanding too much about it, I turned down a pretty amazing offer. I laugh now. I kind of pinch myself because it's something out of a fairy tale. These people found me and offered me a very nice amount of money to come move to a privately owned island, live on the beach, and coach all day long to these world leaders from all over the world. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I turned it down. And it was a very difficult decision on one hand, and yet a very easy decision on the other. Because, and this is what I try to communicate to you guys, is to get very, very clear about what it is that you want in your life. Because when you set that intention for yourselves and you know exactly what you want and what fulfills you, what drives you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, you can make such better decisions because you are operating from a place of action, intention, understanding rather than reaction, right? And you're just being pulled in all of these different directions, right? If you've set this intention, you know what you want in life. You always have something to come back to and focus on when life feels overwhelming. And so, although it was a hard decision in that, my goodness, I could be, I don't know, coaching on the beach in my bikini. I don't know. At the same time, it was the right decision because of where I'm at in my life right now. And the most interesting thing happened after that. Before this offer came about, I had already set the intention to show up in a bigger, bolder, more authentic way, to act as a mirror to you, to others, of what is possible in our lives, right? When we do show up with intention, when we do show up in faith and willingness to take action. And so I had made that decision. And so that bold move that I made of saying, thank you, I appreciate this opportunity, but no thank you, was me taking action toward what I knew was possible, what I believed was possible, and the intention that I set for myself. And then it was like the universe said, all right, let me help you. But it wasn't until I got very clear in my intention, and it wasn't until I made that decision, followed up with action. And then I got this email. Mind you, this email comes from a client that I had worked with in the beginning of my career. The situation with the family was that this mama had been working with her son who was looking at getting, he was acting out and he was having a hard time focusing and showing the symptoms that we see in the ADHD. My belief has always been, as somebody who is raising children on the spectrum, and if I were to put labels on things, which I do not love to do. I would probably have labeled myself on the spectrum, right? Looking back in my past and how I behaved and the similar actions that I see in myself, that's how I would have likely been labeled should my mom have pursued that label, right? Because so often, what do? We look for answers so it can be diagnosed, and so then we have that pill to fix it. But not this mom. This is not what she did. She went full on advocate for her child. And her physician referred her to me, and then we worked together and we used the power of food, the power of restoring the gut, and really brought this little guy's body back into balance. And so this is what she wrote me. She says, "We do appreciate all you did for our family. I hope you can take some pleasure in knowing that you made a huge difference in the life of one little boy who is so much better for it. He's truly happy and well adjusted." And you guys, gosh, I wasn't going to get emotional. I didn't get into this work with full intention knowing what I was going to do. In fact, when I first started, all I knew was, when I had lost 70 pounds and I was feeling absolutely miserable and everybody was asking me what I was doing, I didn't want to tell them what I did, right? My heart was in the right place. I didn't know how. I didn't know the big picture of where I would end up almost a decade later. I just knew that I didn't want to tell anybody, right? And through that, I learned of the power of nutrition and what it can do for our bodies in the negative, right? What I was experiencing. And then also the positive in what I learned through that schooling, how I recovered my own children, and then was able to pass that along to my clients. And it's been just the most beautiful journey and becoming who I'm meant to be, releasing what was no longer serving me and using my weight as that cloak of protection of hiding out. And you guys hear me talk about it, right? That weight is just that layer of protection that keeps us from being seen and our unwillingness to be vulnerable. Because what happens, we feel these emotions, we go running for the fridge, we've got to eat something because life is so stressful and work is so crazy and our marriages are uncomfortable. And so what do we need to do? We need to numb out from that. So we use food to do that, and then it adds the weight. And so what are we doing? What are we hiding from? What are we trying to avoid? And really looking at that bigger picture. That, to me, when we can really narrow in and focus in on that, so much becomes clear to us. But it takes us settling in and recognizing this, listening to that small voice within us that's saying, hey, I don't know how, but I know something needs to change, right? If you're sitting here and you're listening to this podcast, you have that voice in you saying something needs to change. I need to find the answers. And hopefully you are learning that it's more than the food list that you need. It's more than just somebody giving you another product, weight loss program that you need, right? There's so much more to this than just that, right? Just like the work the mama did and together what we did for this little guy changed his life. And it wasn't just nutrition. It was setting the intention that this is unacceptable, that my child is going to be treated this way. And I'm going to do my part as a mother, and I'm going to fight like you know what, right? To get those answers. And I'm not going to stop until I have them. There was an intention, a very clear intention on this mama's part to do whatever it took to help that little guy. Now, if I could only get you guys to show up in that same commitment and love and devotion towards yourselves. Oh my goodness. That'd be amazing, right? And I say that with all the love because I'm a mama of 4. I get it. I know what it's like to put everybody else's needs first. And then if we have anything left over, we apply it to us. But here's the thing. When does that ever happen? Because there's always something else that needs to be taken care of. There's always another need that our children have or that our families have or that somebody at work or somebody in our business or a client or whatever in life is going on. There is always going to be something else. So when do we get to decide that no, I am worth it and I am going to show up for me in that same way, with that same love, that same compassion, and that same commitment, right? That mama did not stop. She did not stop. She went after everything and anything she could to take care of her child. And she did, right? And so here's what I need you to know. You need to know the truth. I am tired of the lies that you and I are being told about ourselves and our kids that leave us frustrated and wondering what the heck we are doing wrong. And this is why I'm so passionate, so very passionate about teaching this, right? Not only to the mamas with the kids that have been labeled a certain way, or for ourselves we go to the doctors and they tell us, okay, well, you need to lose 30 pounds. You're obese, you're overweight, you're this, you're that. Your body wouldn't hurt if you didn't have so much weight. Well, guess what? I did all those things and my body still hurt. I was still taking antidepressant medication. I was still worse than I'd ever been in my life. In fact, I was in worse pain than I'd ever been in my life. And I had lost 70 pounds. You can't tell me that it's just about losing weight. It's so much more than that. And that is what I want you to hear. That is what I need you to hear. This whole idea of, well, just don't eat as much, or the child that's asked to sit in his desk the entire day and not move a muscle, right? And that restriction that he feels or she feels or that you feel because, okay, here we are. We have to deprive ourselves. We have to restrict the food that we eat. We have to eat less and we have to move our body more. And that's how we're going to lose this weight. Well, here's the thing. That restriction and that deprivation, it does not work. And yet, here we are, and we're depriving ourselves of something more important than the food. We are depriving ourselves of something so vital to our well-being. And here's what it is. We are restricting ourselves from being who we are, and most importantly, our own self-love. Through the years, as a coach, I've worked with some amazing women and some guys in there too. We love our guys. They've been attorneys and teachers and pastors and moms and principals and brokers and corporate managers and business owners and healers and energy healers and past life. They're guides. There have been so many different types of people that I've worked with in weight loss and symptoms of ADHD and being on the spectrum and digestive problems and high blood pressure and autoimmune disorders, migraines, cancers, etc. It's been across the board. I've worked with so many different people from so many different walks of life with so many different symptoms in their body. And they were all so unique and yet the same in so many ways. And I want you, as I'm reading this, I want you to be thinking about yourself and thinking, do you meet any of these qualities? right? This description I'm about to give of every single client, whether they were 6 years old or whether they were 60, they had these qualities. They were leaders, big thinkers. They cared oh so deeply, right? They were highly sensitive. They cared so much about the people around them. They were driven. They were achievers, deeply spiritual, right? The child, maybe he didn't know it yet, but deeply spiritual. And yet, they internalized their stress, their fears, and often their emotions, and they refused to show up for themselves the way they did for others, for everybody else. Wellness is about more than just what you eat. And yes, this is important too, but wellness is so much bigger. Wellness, well-being, being, right? Your being of wellness is, yes, your body, your mind, and your spirit are all working in harmony. And you're really truly living a life that you feel happy to lead. Now, I don't mean that's all, rainbows and sparkles and everything's perfect all the time. But you're operating from a place of being mindful of your thoughts and your actions and managing those things, right? They aren't running you. You're not a victim in your life. It's this awareness, this what I call awakening, and being fully mindful and co-creating the life that we want to lead. We are not victims. We get to choose. And I have been a victim. I have been that person who was in a place of abuse. And at the time I was a victim, but I'm not that same person anymore. And I'm choosing not to remain in that mindset. Instead, I'm going to choose a completely different way of being. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. It's time that we understand things on a deeper level. It's time we understand how our emotions affect our bodies and understand that what we feel on the inside shows up and manifests on the outside of us and on our bodies. The child that was so highly in tune with the energies around him that he couldn't do what he needed to do, right? He needed to move his body. He needed to not fit into this box. He needed to be who he was. He didn't need to feel so restricted and trapped, right? He internalizes. So then what happens? The outbursts of anger, the lack of focus, the distraction and withdrawing. And yet, she, in many cases, are just these most gifted children that simply think and feel in much more than traditional ways, in the more holistic, bigger picture thinking. Or the woman that feels so deeply that it scares her and she doesn't know how to process it, that she feels like something is wrong with her. Maybe she doesn't think that specifically, but inside she thinks she's broken. And so she overeats or overdrinks to numb out the pain. Or that anxious woman who worries and just can't shut off her thoughts and let it go. And so it just keeps nagging at her and nagging at her. And so that what happens, it shows up in this digestive stress and discomfort. Or the woman who serves and gives to everyone but ignores her own needs until her body forces her to stop and pay attention. It's time, my friends, that we understand what is happening. We are being called to live more fully and authentically as ourselves. It's time to stop depriving ourselves from the very nature of who we are. It is time that we love ourselves enough to fully, authentically show up just as we are. And it's time to value ourselves just as we are and to stop thinking that we're broken. We are not broken. That's just our brain. We are not our past. Yes, we've experienced hard things. It sucked at times, right? But there's more to life than being stuck in those old stories. It's time to rewrite your own stories. right? It's time to let go of whatever it is that is holding you back from fully embodying who you are. It's time. It's time to release. It is time, if it is your weight, it is time. It is time to release the story that's within you that sets in motion the need to use food to numb it out, that sets in motion the need to surround yourself with overwhelm so you just don't have to handle that feeling, that thought, that stuff that's going on. You guys understand that we need who you are at your core. We need your spiritual gifts. We need beauty and love and grace and compassion and faith and kindness. And if you're continuously hiding out and not sharing that gift, that unique special gift that you have, you're depriving the rest of us. And I don't like being deprived. I don't want to be deprived. I want to know you. I want to help you. I want to help you serve in the capacity that you are fully capable of serving when you stop hiding. But you've got to stop hiding. You've got to stop trying to avoid what's going on and the thoughts that you're feeling. It's time to just bring it out into the open. And I just had this discussion with a friend of mine on a podcast that I'll be airing soon. And we were talking about clearing our space, our actual physical space, to make room for more, right? To make room for what we truly want. And I loved how she put it, is that when you bring everything out of those cupboards, it's a bigger mess, right? We know that. It's going to look like crap for a little bit, and it's going to feel really ugly, and it's going to be really hard to throw away some things or get rid of them or donate them. But when we do, it's so relaxing and it's so freeing. And we get to surround ourselves with what we truly want in our lives. And that's what I ask you to do. That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to turn inside and go through all that crap you have stored and to bring it all out into awareness so that you can see it. And then when you can see it, you can make the decision what you want to keep and what you don't, right? That is fully up to you. Nobody gets to tell you that. You get to decide. But right now you're operating from this place of restriction and deprivation and thinking that something's wrong with you. And you don't even know what stories are driving you. You're just in this autopilot mode. And in the email, I'm going to read it to you. But it goes a little something like this. Is that you're this sexy white Tesla running down the road 90 miles an hour, programmed. You're sitting there and you're reading a paper. You're not even paying attention because the Tesla's doing its thing, right? The problem is that the Tesla's going around in circles, round and round, replaying the same story over and over and over again. So you're not going to get to where you want to be. Right? So you as that sexy Tesla, you're not going to go where you want. It doesn't matter how many times you buy some product that's going to promise you that if you drink this shake, you're going to drop that weight, or you take this pill, or you use this cream, or you work out this program. No matter how many times you do that, until you get into that story, you're just going to be driving round and round in circles. So please understand that those stories that are within you are part of your journey. They were a part of who you are. Yes. They were a part of what shaped you. Yes. But you get to decide how it shapes you. You get to decide, are you going to keep being that victim? Or are you going to decide right now that you're going to bring that story out and reframe it and have it inspire you, encourage you to be who you're being called and asked to be, and hopefully help somebody else with your story, right? I didn't start out thinking, hey, I'm going to lose this weight and then I'm going to go coach people worldwide and have these listeners from all over the world. I didn't think that. I had no clue what was going to happen. I just knew in my heart I needed to do something. I needed to do something not only for my children, but because I knew I didn't want to tell people how I lost the weight. I knew that I didn't want them to do what I did. So my story became more important than me. And that's what I want you to understand. Your story is more important than just you. And your weight loss is not just about you. And you can use that to inspire you. You can use that to encourage you. You can use that to help you keep going when you feel like quitting, because it's never just about you. Because the gifts that you have, what is within you, is asking to come out. It's asking to be seen. You're being asked to live your most authentic self. And if your weight is stopping you from doing that, then it's time to do something. It's not serving anybody to continue to hide, to continue to numb, to continue to overeat. It's not helping anybody, and it's certainly not helping you. I was the girl who felt too much, right? Growing up, you guys have heard a little bit of my story. I was that deeply sensitive, empath child who, when she was being herself, was told, no, you can't be yourself. Why can't you do this? Why do you have to be so sensitive? You're just too sensitive. You need thicker skin. And it was unintentional, right? The people that were telling me that were telling me out of love. But in my mind, I was hearing, or I grew up to believe, that something was wrong with me, that I felt too much, that whenever I felt so much that I should not feel. And so I turned to things to help me not feel. I turned to alcohol. I turned to food. I turned to my career and over busyness and a plethora of things, right? We can all look at our lives and see how we just might be doing that same thing. We're told, hey, you can't feel so much. Or we don't know. We don't know how to use our emotions correctly. We don't know how to manage them. We don't know how to handle them. And the thing is that if you've watched any of my online videos, you see my little baby doll, Rosie, my little puppy. If I don't let her in, she just starts scratching at my door, and she's just scratching, and she just wants to be let in. She just wants to be let in. And once I let her in, she goes and sits in her little spot, and I can go about my video. I can go about my business, and she doesn't scratch or bark or whine or do anything else again. And in that same way, when we acknowledge our emotions, when we acknowledge what we're thinking, when we acknowledge what we're feeling, instead of continually trying to quiet them down and stuff them, they just simply, we feel what we feel, and we soon realize, oh, wait, we can handle this. Okay, maybe I do need to cry a little bit, and so I cry, and then I let it go. But we don't get to blame everybody else either for the way that we're feeling. Because really, it's about really owning our own stuff and being willing to own our own stuff, being willing to look at what is scary and bringing that story out of hiding, bringing that story to a place where we see it, so that then and only then can we really decide if that's truly our story. And if it is, great. We can decide if we want to keep it, or we can decide if we want to let it go, if we want to reframe it and shift that paradigm and create a new one. We get to decide that. We don't have to stay stuck. We don't have to operate from that restriction and deprivation that we're told we have to operate from. I have lived half of my life with some deep shame, some protective mask, trying to be something that I wasn't. And I'm done. I'm done. That intention that I set to show up more authentic to who I was, to who I am, I'm done pretending. I'm done pretending that I'm not an emotional being. Oh my goodness, am I emotional? And not emotional in a way that I'm hysterical and can't handle myself, but I feel deeply. I love deeply. It's why I have an animal rescue, because my heart has always felt so much more comfortable with the animals. And I've just been able to connect on a deeper level with them. And maybe that comes from not being afraid that they're going to hurt me. And maybe that's that story that I have, right? And that's okay. I still love my animals. I'm going to keep them close. And the reason that I can do that, the reason that I have so much empathy for them, the reason that I'm an amazing coach is because I do feel so much, because I can feel other people's energies. And I don't have to be afraid of it. I don't have to be afraid of it, and neither do you. I want you to join me. I want you to uncover your stories. And we can do it in a gentle way, or you know what? We can just rip it off like a Band-Aid and just get right down to it. Okay? But it is time. It is time to uncover what is driving you. And if you're somebody who, like that sexy Tesla, is all revved up and ready to go, and you try to go somewhere, it's like that Tesla with a boot on it. You can't go anywhere because that story that is driving you is also holding you back. That story lets you lose 10 pounds, maybe even 20 pounds. And then boom, what happens? You're triggered, something happens, and you are going to go right back to your old behaviors because that's where it's safe. Okay, that's where it's safe. And so we have to get in there and we have to uncover those stories. And is that quick fix? Absolutely not. I wish that I could tell you that it was. In fact, I was the person that's done the shakes. I even sold the shakes because I thought that was the answer. But it's not the answer. There are some really amazing products out there. But no matter how good they are, your stories that are driving your actions are always going to determine your outcome. No matter how many amazing products that you purchase, right? No matter how many amazing personal trainers or weight loss products that you purchase, that you buy, that you invest in. Because you really have to get to the root of the stuff, which is in you, and you don't see them. And so, yes, my sweet, sweet friends, I am going to ask you to invest in you in something that is much more valuable than the product, than the quick fix stuff. I am going to ask you to invest in coaching. I am going to ask you to invest in you, because I don't tell you how to live. I don't give you the answers, because you don't need me to give you the answers. You need me to help you uncover your stories, because sometimes we don't see that, right? We don't see the stories that are continually playing over and over and over and over again. And yes, we need the food list that makes our life easier. We need the shopping list. We need the recipes to help us, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend hours trying to find this stuff. So if I can find a way to make it easier for myself, then I'm going to do it, because I don't have time. I don't want to go looking, right? How many of us would just jump on the phone to go look at a Facebook for something, and then all of a sudden here we are, 2 hours wasted, and I don't want to do that. And so that is something that I give you guys. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, Smart Keto Academy, the digital course that I've created for you, is now open. And yes, the food lists are there because I think that you do want those, and I think they are helpful. However, we work on so much more. And if you've been listening to me or you're receiving my emails, you know you know that I am all about the spiritual, woo woo, get past the obvious and let's see into what is asking to be seen, right? Let's see past what is obvious and let's really get to the core root of what is going on. And so, the first step, if you guys have not already done so, is go walk through the spiritual path of lasting weight loss with me. And you go to my website, it's missjenlewis.com/capital S for spiritual. And that's going to take you to what I call Intuitive Woman Awakening, weight loss from the inside out. And it's going to take you through some of the exercise that are so powerful in helping you really uncover your stories. And then from there, I'm going to ask you to join us. I'm going to ask you to join Smart Keto Academy because yes, we're going to do keto, but we are going to do it in the right way, the way that restores your gut balance, that restores your hormones and your metabolism and gives you that clarity of mind so you can think straight, so that you can handle your oh so busy life, right? But then we're going to be working on the deeper stuff at the same time so that when we're done with the program, my goal is that you don't go back to your old behaviors that leads to weight gain. We've all heard, keto is not sustainable. Well, it is sustainable if you learn to eat in a way and view food as a way that supports your body's function, that you change the way that you view food. In fact, you heal your relationship with your emotions and your thoughts around food, that you start to understand that, hey, you know what? Food is just fuel for my body. Food either helps me think straight and have energy and do everything I want to do in my life, or it can cause me to be tired and bloated and cranky and irritable and all of these things, right? But we don't have to feel that way. In fact, we can choose not to feel that way by choosing to fuel our body with the food that supports how we want to feel. And so that's what I'm going to give you in that Smart Keto Academy. So I do hope that you will join me. So today I want to leave you just with one last thought. I want you to just take a moment, and if you're driving, obviously you can't do this, and I hope that you will come back to this and really listen and hear me and really, truly hear me. That no matter how many programs you purchase, no matter how many quick fix products that you buy, or your gym memberships, or that expensive personal trainer, if you are not working on your inner stories, you will only be able to move so far. And I'm going to ask you to show up like that mama at the beginning of our podcast today, who was 100% committed to her son, to do whatever it took, no matter what. I'm going to ask you to show up just like that for yourself. And I get it. I am a mom. I get 100% that I am driven more by my service to others than I am service to myself. And so let me help you reframe this for a minute. As a leader, as somebody who serves other people, whether it be in your church, in your community, or your children, or your clients, you cannot serve at your fullest capacity in love and charity if you are not first doing that for yourself. And I want you to really think about that. And so I'm asking you to really seal this for yourself. And I want you to choose just 2 intentions that you're going to make for yourself today. Those 2 intentions that if you set the intention today to do something, just like in the beginning, I set the intention that I was going to show up more authentic, that I was going to stop hiding, right? That I was not any longer going to be afraid to be seen just as I am. And just like I shared with you today, guess what? I am so emotional. I am, goodness gracious, I love deeply. And it hurts like hell when I lose something or someone and someone disappoints me. It hurts. It hurts. But guess what? I survive. And I got to feel that love instead of stuffing it down. So I'm asking you to set that intention for yourself today. And what is your intention as you journey to wholeness? What is your intention? You know, weight loss is never about the weight, ever. It is never about the weight. It is never about how you look. It is always going to be about how you feel about yourself, how you feel in the world that you live, the energy that you have, the clarity that you gain. There's so many amazing things when you do it right. And so I ask you today, just set that intention. Set that intention. What do you want? What do you truly want? And I don't mean, oh, I want to lose 40 pounds. Like, that's amazing. Do that. But I want to know what you really want. I want to get past the physical. Remember, I'm that high vibing, intuitive coach that I want to know the good stuff. I don't want to know the outside, what's on the outside. I want to know what's inside. What is going on inside? What do you want to feel? Is it freedom? Is it love? Is it love for being exactly who you are instead of trying to hide it and then having to use food to numb it down? What do you want? If you weren't afraid, if life wasn't so busy, if money wasn't a problem, what do you want to feel? What would you do? What would you do differently right now that you're not doing? If it wasn't for your weight, if it wasn't for not having the time, if it wasn't for not having the money, what would you do differently? What would your life look like? That's what I want to know. Because that's the good stuff. That, my dear friend, is where your answers are. That's where they lie. And I'm going to ask you just to spend some time in that. I do this thing every night and every morning, and I'm going to invite you to do the same. It's just a really simple thing. And you know, keep in mind that things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. It takes intention, and it takes trying over and over again. And sometimes it takes a coach to help remind you. And that is every night before I go to bed, I write down everything that I'm grateful for. And I even practice this with my kids because so easily we can get focused on what's not going well, what we're not doing right? How hard life is, all the yucky that's going on. You turn on Facebook and it's so much drama and negative. And talk about a buzzkill, right? Talk about low vibration energy. You turn on the news, you all you see is all the negative. And so I want you to just retrain your mind. Focus on the positive. Focus on 5 things you are grateful for that day. As I teach my children, what are 5 specific things that you're grateful for? And right now I'm trying to get them to, that whole sibling thing. They're all very close in age, so they're kind of trying to fight with each other all the time and be in competition. And so I'm trying to guide them and retrain them to notice the strength in the other person and be grateful for that strength. Don't be threatened by it, but be grateful for it. And That's what I'm going to ask you to do. 5 things. What are you grateful for specifically? I'm grateful for my body that helped me take my children to baseball practice or take my children to her gymnastics or horse lessons or piano lessons or violin, whatever it is that they do. I'm thankful for my body that I was able to do that. I'm thankful for my commitment to my children, for my love and devotion to them, to help them grow up and be the most amazing being with belief that they can do anything they want. And also, I'm thankful for teaching them that even if they don't quite make what they thought they were going to make, they are still worthy and valuable and deeply loved. And that their own plans aren't always exactly what the universe has planned for us. And I personally am going to trust in that higher calling and that higher power that knows a lot more than me to guide my children, to guide myself. And I personally choose to really tune into that. And I can't do that if my body is out of balance, if my mind is out of balance. And certainly, if my mind and body are out of balance, I'm not going to be the most in tune that I can be to that spirit that is calling me, to that spirit, to that voice that's within me guiding me. So please keep that in mind. And yeah, I got up all woo-woo it because this is where it's at. This is where we need to go. This is what is calling us forward, not some stupid food list. I love you guys. I need you to know the truth. Food, yeah, okay, it's important. Yep, certain foods are creating a big old mess in your gut. And certain foods are going to help restore that balance and are going to help you deeply. But what I've learned over the decade of coaching and hundreds of clients, no matter what food list I give you, if you don't work on the inside story, the inside stuff that keeps you stuck, you will come back to your old behaviors because it's safe. It's what you know. And so that is what I give you. And that is what I'm going to ask you to work on. So go on over there, MissJenLewis.com/S in spiritual and start working on it. I promise you, at first it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm such a mess. I'm so broken. But you are not broken. It just feels like it. Just remember those cupboards when you clear them out and it's like, oh my God, I need a bigger house. That's what I tell myself, right? I was cleaning out all my stuff and I'm like, I have so much stuff. So much stuff that I don't want, that I don't need, and yet here it is, taking up all this space, taking up all my energy, and it's such a mess, and I need a bigger house. I'm telling myself all these stories. But no, I don't. My house is perfect. My house is amazing. It's exactly where I need it to be. You are exactly where you need to be. It's going to feel like a mess when you start going through it, and it's going to be harder before it gets better. That I can assure you. And when it gets harder, you can be like, that Jen, dang it. And then you can say, well, she did tell me. I promise you nothing but the truth, my friends. I am not here to sell you some food list. I'm not here to sell you something that doesn't work, you guys. I am, however, going to ask you to invest in Smart Keto Academy. I have put so much into it. Because it's what you need. It's because it's the truth. It's because I'm operating from my place of authenticity. And I've given you the hours that I have spent, the conferences, the hundreds of books, you guys. You should see my house. I have so many books because how do I want to spend my free time? Reading, developing my brain. It's what I love. Or walking barefoot on my property. and just listening to the animals and tuning in to that quiet voice, right? Just feeling that love and connection. And I've taken just those hours of conferences and the physicians that I've worked with and the healers, the energy healers, and these amazing people disguised as business coaches that just cracked my heart wide open and really just reminded me of my purpose and what I'm really here to do. And that's what each of you are here to do, is just to live authentic to who you are, to stop hiding, but to fully embody who you are, what's calling you forward, to embody your emotions, to hear your thoughts, to hear that quiet voice, to stop being so overbusy that we're not listening, to stop being so overbusy that we can't take care of our health and our bodies and our well-being. And Smart Keto is hours of what I've learned and the mistakes that I've corrected and the things. And it's there to help you. It's there to help you have your own breakthroughs. It's there to help you uncover your own gifts that you're meant to be using, or that you're using maybe in just a small capacity, when really you're meant to be using it in a much bigger capacity. So please join us. Your first step is go download, start that spiritual guide. It's going to get you on my newsletters. And in that, you are going to be gifted with the Smart Keto Academy registration. And I hope that you will join me. And something I do want to caution you about is I don't have the money. And I encourage you to go listen to the podcast episode. I believe it was episode number 3 that says the lies we tell ourselves that keep us stuck. Actually, it was episode number 4. It's the lies we tell ourselves that keep us stuck, because we invest the money that we feel is on things that are important to us. We spend the money on the things that make us feel, or the way we think it's going to make us feel. That's how we spend our money. We spend it on our kids. We spend it on our home. We spend it in many, many ways. On the cars we drive, the purses we carry. Because on the outside it says, hey, I have it all together. But I want you, and I'm asking you to work on the stuff that's really important. The stuff that's on the inside. So that the inside matches what's on the outside. That you're in harmony. That you're not just using what's on the outside to cover what's going on the inside. So, yes, I am going to ask you to invest in yourself. And it's all part of the process in your commitment to showing up for you and to showing up saying, yes, universe, I set this intention right now to no longer hide, but to fully embody who I am and live authentically, being willing to be seen as who I am, to feel as how I feel, and more importantly, to be loved just as I am. Mostly and most important by myself first, and then the rest just follows. So you guys, I love you. Have an amazing weekend ahead. I wish you many blessings of health and happiness. Make sure that you work on that intention and setting your intentions for yourself. Don't forget. And tonight when you go to bed, don't forget 5 things you are grateful for, and be specific because it's important. All right. Love y'all. Hope to see you in the class because it's going to be amazing. That I can promise you, because Mama does not underdeliver. She goes all in, go big, go home, right? That's my personality. And so I'll see you in class. Just a reminder, Smart Keto Academy is a branch of Jennifer Lewis International, and the statements in this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, nor are they intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. In fact, if you have a chronic illness, we do recommend that you work closely with your physician before making any changes whatsoever to your wellness plan. Results are not typical and weight loss is not guaranteed, but you're not the typical person, now are you? So now go have an amazing day.